I can't get Aaron Rodgers out of my freaking head. And and I feel like we've been having this cycle with Aaron Rodgers in the offseason for 3 out of the last 4 years, right? When he gets traded to the Jets and then when he goes to the Steelers. And now this year, up in the air. We think that Aaron Rodgers is coming back, one, or is he retiring? I don't think I think he's coming back. I think he would have retired almost immediately. I think he's coming back to play football in 2026, and I think he's going to have more than one suitor. I don't think it's just the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Minnesota Vikings are absolutely in play, and the conversation and the quotes today from both today and yesterday from Kevin O'Connell and Brzezinski, the guy who's basically the interim de facto GM since they still don't have one since they fired Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. Every option, multiple options are on the table, and they're exploring every option at quarterback. They are more publicly now than ever basically telling us, yeah, we don't really believe in JJ McCarthy. And can you blame them? We all saw it last year. They picked and that's what got Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah fired. They wrongfully chose him over Sam Darnold. And now they not only have Aaron Rodgers potentially available at their disposal, they got a couple of other quarterbacks. And there's a lot of different ways we can go with this one here, Brad. But I think that Aaron Rodgers is coming back and playing football. And we look at Pittsburgh. He wants to reunite with Mike McCarthy when he could potentially play for Kevin O'Connell and throw the football to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Rodgers wanted Minnesota last year, and I think they spurned him because they didn't want to hurt JJ McCarthy's ego. Why the hell would Minnesota not want Aaron Rodgers now? He'd be available as a free agent. If he's coming back to play, I think it's more likely it's Minnesota than Pittsburgh or anywhere else.
I'll just complete the full Brett Favre circle, right? Makes all the sense in the world for him to go to Minnesota, be that bridge quarterback, because JJ McCarthy, I don't think is ever going to amount to much of anything. It could be horribly, just terribly wrong about that. Maybe he has like the Sam Darnold breakout in year 7, but based on what we saw this year, a reasonable sample size, the inaccuracy, just the mismanagement under center when you have one of the best wide receivers who was upright and on the field to complete passes to in Justin Jefferson, and he just wasted that talent. You mentioned Jordan Addison. They also had TJ Hawkinson, a plus tight end there, and a pretty good 1-2 punch to the ground with Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. So, Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers, the pair of Aarons are rather tight. So maybe Jones can, be a guy that could say, hey, man, come on over here, buddy. Let's partner up again like we did as members of the Green Bay Packers. Rodgers does make sense. I think he's got a little bit of gas left in the tank. Sure, he's a far cry from his prime days. I know he's well north of 40 years old, and those bags under the eyes are getting droopier and droopier. But he was top 20 in adjusted completion percentage this season. Impressively, too, Pat, he was number 8 among all qualifying quarterbacks in red zone completion percentage. I think he'd be an ideal fit for Kevin O'Connell, who can really get the most out of his passers. We've seen it before with the aforementioned Sam Darnold. So Aaron Rodgers coming in and getting one more season, maybe possibly 2. Complete the campaign on a high note, maybe get Minnesota back in the good graces of their fan base, have them competitive in what is going to be a highly competitive division there in the NFC North with my Chicago Bears, of course, the Green Bay Packers as well. In Detroit, I can't write them off by any stretch of the imagination with some of the changes that are afoot with that franchise. So, yeah, man, if I'd have put a percentage chance that Rodgers is a starting quarterback week 1 in Minnesota, honestly, I think it's greater than 70% right now. Get it done.
Wow. Phone number to join the show is 310-840-4910. That's 310-840-4910. Let's not forget, Aaron Rodgers signed a 1-year deal with the Steelers that was worth $13.65 million. Remember, he basically took a sizable chunk after he moved on from the Jets here. And so he's a free agent. You got to see whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to retire or not first. And I think that's probably a first valuable question. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is coming back to play football in 2026? Or do you think he's retiring? 310-840-4910. I think if he would have retired, Brad, he would have done it already. And we know that Aaron Rodgers, he loves the attention on himself, right? And I don't know how many ayahuasca trips he's got planned this offseason or how many darkness retreats he's going to go and sit in some weird countries. But I think if he's going to retire, we would have gotten a decision already. And I think, like you said, the fact that he played a large portion of this season as a respectable quarterback, and like you said, top 10 in quarterback rating, I think he proved he could still play. You look at the numbers from last year, 66% completion, 3,300 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not elite, certainly not anywhere of a far cry from his MVP days with Green Bay, but that's still respectable enough. And the Steelers got to the playoffs. And you could say, oh, well, Baltimore, oh, Cincinnati. It doesn't matter. The Steelers won 10 games with a defense that was completely erratic and inconsistent. 1 week, they looked like the steel curtain. The next week, they give up 40 points to Joe Flacco and 375 yards. And, and the offense, let's not act like they've got a, murderer's row of talent on that offense. I mean, again, Rodgers was throwing the ball to, yes, DK Metcalf, but outside of that, it was your collection of retreads, Calvin Austin, MVS, Scotty Miller, Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith. Those are average tight ends and a running back room that got a lot better this year, for sure, with Jaylen Warren, but still wasn't a great running attack. And so Rodgers behind it was an average offense at best. And they were able to win 10 games. And of course, when Rodgers played elite defenses like the Chargers or like the Texans, they got eaten alive and they got exposed. But you put him in Minnesota, like you said, with that offense, with that coaching staff too. Let's not forget, his offense coordinator last year was Arthur Smith. All right, and I've said it over and over again. My favorite thing that I love saying about Arthur Smith is that my 9-year-old nephew could draw up better plays with a box of crayons than Arthur Smith. Okay? So now he would transition to Kevin O'Connell. His weapons would transition from DK Metcalf and the other average at best players that I mentioned to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and a running back room that features Aaron Jones. And yeah, it's an incredibly tough division, but it's a division that he knows. It's a division. Like, is the AFC North as competitive as the NFC North? Probably. If not for the Cleveland Browns, we would probably put these two divisions together and say, yeah, this is pretty damn solid up and down the entire board here. So I think it's clear to me that Minnesota, and again, Rob Brzezinski, he said, quote, today, the Minnesota Vikings team, their team page posted this on Twitter. He said, quote, like any room in our building as far as positions, we want the best competition. And the quarterback room, there's no room more important. We're going to look under every stone to have the best option in that room with JJ. I don't know about you, Brad. That doesn't sound like they're looking to bring in some veteran retread, like a Jacoby Brissett. No offense to him. He had a decent year with Arizona. Or somebody of that ilk to come in and push JJ McCarthy. No. They're looking to bring somebody in that can do what JJ McCarthy could not, and that's throw the football accurately. And who better out there that's available right now than Aaron Rodgers? Maybe you say, well, look what's happening in Arizona. Kyler Murray. You say, why not bring back a familiar face? Kirk Cousins? I still think out of any of the available quarterbacks in the next couple of weeks here, Aaron Rodgers is the best decision for the Vikings. And you know what? I think they're a playoff team if they have Aaron Rodgers under center this year.
Ooh, that's a spicy meatball, and I kind of agree with you. Look, I think at a minimum, he's still a top 20 quarterback in this league. Now, is he a top 10? No, he's not. Is he a top 15? I think it's highly debatable, but he's a guy that all he's got to do is be like a plus game manager, not a full-blown game manager, like the next step above that level. And I think he can absolutely do that, given the advanced age, as long as he has adequate protection. And that's the biggest key for Aaron Rodgers. He's not as springy and spry as he was, even 5 seasons ago. But he will call his own number, be an opportunistic runner when the opportunity is presented in front of him. We saw it on a number of occasions this year, but, he's not going to be running for 300, 350 yards like he usually did, and we grew accustomed to seeing during his days in Green Bay. But he may get you 100, 150. He might be able to, break, contain, and extend the play, and then find Justin Jefferson wide ass open, 20 yards, sprinting down the field. They connect, and then Jefferson does the dirty work after the fact and takes it to the house. That's something I could see unfolding repeatedly there in Minnesota. So, yeah, it makes, again, all the sense in the world The flirtations were there last year. So why don't you just, put a ring on it like your mystery wife before last season, last year, Aaron Rodgers, do it with the Minnesota front office, and magic is sure to happen. So, look, I despise the guy. I'm tired of him. I'm tired of his antics. I'm tired about, oh, look at me. Oh, I'm just going to ride off in the sunset and disappear. I'm looking forward to those days. But me as the NFL, fan that I am, and somebody as a diehard Chicago Bears fan who wants the best competition to go up against my beloveds so the beloveds can go out there and shut them up and shut them down. Bring the noise, Aaron Rodgers. We would love to embarrass you for once in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, and you mentioned complete the Brett Favre arc. I mean, his cosplaying of Brett Favre would be complete. Packers, Jets, Vikings, in that same exact order.
Unreal.
And, we laugh at it. And again, I'm sick of Aaron Rodgers. I was close to it every single day when he was with the New York Jets, doing shows on WFAN, producing at WFAN. And that he created, again, it's like the meme of, what is it, Eric Andre, where he shoots the guy and then he turns around, he goes like, who did that? It's like Aaron Rodgers basically creates as much BS drama that is not centered around football around the New York Jets. And then he goes, we need to get all the BS that isn't about football out of the building. It's like, brother, my brother, you created almost all of it, going on Pat McAfee, talking about COVID toe and God knows what else. And so I'm sick of Aaron Rodgers. Like, there's honestly, I've tended to root against him ever since his stint with the Jets. I rooted against him with the Steelers. I can't deny, though, that the baseline play that he brings is head and shoulders above what JJ McCarthy was last year. And that's another quote from Rob Brzezinski, the Vikings executive vice president of football ops. He said Minnesota needs to have baseline QB play to be successful. I mean, they're basically, I feel like they're throwing JJ McCarthy out to the wolves right now. Like, is there any chance that no matter who Minnesota brings in, and I guess if it's Rodgers, you're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, is going to be the backup. But so I guess maybe a better question is there any chance that the Vikings pass on Aaron Rodgers because they want to run it back with JJ McCarthy and give him one more shot? I tend to think we've crossed that line with Minnesota, and I don't think they're going back. I think they are on the cusp of admitting that they made a mistake in drafting him and that they're looking to have any kind of upgrade at quarterback to play for them this season, because they've got next to no confidence, despite what they then say. Like, we need to have baseline QB to play to be successful. We're also still very confident in JJ McCarthy. You wouldn't be saying stuff like that if you were. So I don't know about you, Brad. We could be wrong on Rodgers. Is that what's the likelihood that JJ McCarthy is going to be the starting quarterback for Minnesota? Because I think it's next to none.
I totally agree with that sentiment. Look, they're going to say, oh, it's going to be an open competition. These guys are going to have to prove it in training camp, and then we're going to make the decision. Well, they'll probably get about 2.5 weeks into training camp, and they'll come to the realization, my God, JJ McCarthy sucks. My goodness, Aaron Rodgers is leap years ahead of him, even given his advanced age. And a guy that's a wee bit wrinkly, I could still get it done. And again, be just a plus game manager. McCarthy, you're right. You saw the large enough sample size. I think the front office already crossed the bridge, holding a gas can, which they emptied as they were crossing it. And they've got a match lit, and they're ready to burn that sucker all the way to the ground. McCarthy, I think, is done as a starter in Minneapolis. He's going to have to get a second chance, a second lease on life with another organization, and maybe, take that route of Sam Darnold, where it's going to take several campaigns. It may take several suitors for him to finally unlock his potential. But you know what? Again, the last thing I got on McCarthy is this. I always go back to his days at Michigan and how he was constantly disguised by Harbaugh. Harbaugh never really let him rip in a lot of games. It was ultra conservative with that offensive scheme at the University of Michigan, running the ball early and often with Blake Corum, leaning on the defense. And McCarthy was out there getting like 20 pass attempts in a game. Why do you think Jim Harbaugh did that? Sure, he talked him up and said, yeah, this guy can be a damn good NFL quarterback. He's going to stump for his guys. That's what Harbaugh does. But deep down, If you had him chug the truth serum, he would tell you that JJ McCarthy, at best, is going to be a backup his entire career in the National Football League.
Yeah, again, phone number to join the show, 310-840-4910. Who do you think should be the Vikings quarterback in 2026? Should Minnesota give JJ McCarthy another shot? Should they go after Aaron Rodgers? Or could it be somebody else? Could they bring back a familiar face in Kirk Cousins? Could they go after Kyler Murray if the Cardinals release him? I don't think it would make much sense at all for Minnesota to trade for Kyler Murray. I think they wait to see if Arizona releases him. And then the other thing is, Brad, I mean, again, we need to get an answer on Rodgers. Is he coming back or is he retiring? And Adam Schefter was talking earlier today and says the belief around the league is that Aaron Rodgers is expected or is supposed to give an answer by mid-March. That's right when free agency starts. And so Rodgers is going to have to say whether he wants to come back and play or not, and whether he has intentions of coming back to play for Pittsburgh. Because then the Steelers factor into this as well. They obviously would want Rodgers, because if not Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be their quarterback? Are they going to draft Ty Simpson and immediately thrust him in there? Maybe they could draft him, but then you have a succession plan where if Rodgers comes back to Pittsburgh, he plays this year, Ty Simpson becomes their starter next year. But again, did we forget? Mike McCarthy's the new head coach in Pittsburgh. Does Aaron Rodgers want to go back and play for Mike McCarthy after the way that ended in Green Bay? I honestly don't think there's any chance Rodgers is coming back to Pittsburgh. I think it is all signs are pointing to the Twin Cities here. I think Rodgers is going to Minnesota. And I honestly don't think it should be a shock to anybody when it happens.